Hey guys, Nick here from Nick's Taxes. In today's video, we're going to talk a little bit more about UBI and where it stands in Canada. In my previous videos, we've talked about UBI and the potential of Canada as a country getting a universal basic income. But with the budget being released recently, there wasn't any news about a UBI in the budget. So in today's video, I want to talk a little bit more about where Canada stands with the universal basic income idea, along with my thoughts on the topic. But before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel grow. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. In my last video where we talked about the Canada Recovery Benefits and getting $1,000 now, I asked you guys, assuming all your expenses were covered and you got $1,000, what would you do with that money? And I got a lot of really cool responses. Some of you guys didn't hear the question and you said that you would spend it on necessities, but whatever. I got a lot of cool responses, and one of them from Salah Y and many others said the same thing, and that was to buy Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. So this seems to be a very popular thing right now. And so if that's of something of interest to you, let me know in the comments below. And I think I'll start making some videos on cryptocurrency, maybe even looking at investing in some and following along with this whole Bitcoin cryptocurrency thing going on right now and seeing where that takes us. So if that's of interest to you, let me know in the comments below. Also, my question for today, since we're talking about universal basic income, is if you were in charge of Canada, would you implement a UBI? And if so, how much? Currently, the UBI is set at $500 per person, and they're also looking at a guaranteed basic minimum income level of $2,000 a month per person. So that's with Bill 273, Bill C-273. Those are the amounts. But if you were in charge, what would you set as your UBI or your guaranteed minimum income? Let me know in the comments below. So I've been getting a lot of comments in my UBI videos asking about what is the status of UBI. Is UBI currently dead in Canada since it wasn't in the budget? The short answer basically is yes. As of right now, since it wasn't in the Liberal budget, it's not currently on the agenda. So that means that right now they're focusing on the CRB. They're focusing on getting that to the end of its life and then seeing what's going to happen beyond that. But there's no talks of a UBI at this point in time. However, with that being said, in my previous videos, we've said that the Liberal government overwhelmingly supported the idea of a UBI. So that means when they issue out their next platform, UBI might be on the table. And currently, there's talks out there that there might be a new election sometime this year. However, the majority of Canadians say an election during this pandemic in 2021 would be unfair for Canadians and also would be deemed unsafe. So a lot of Canadians are against the idea of an election, but the reality is the Liberals are in a minority government. So at any point, there could potentially be cause for an election. Let's see what Justin Trudeau had to say. Justin Trudeau earlier this year admitted that a Canadian federal election could well happen in 2021. However, when he said that, he was on a radio show back in January. He also made it clear that the Liberal Party is not prioritizing preparing for a national election right now. So basically, from my understanding, again, Trudeau isn't planning for an election, but it could happen. Every time I've kind of gone on his word, I've been wrong, so I'm not going to say anything. But here's more what Trudeau said. He said, "Our priority as a government is going to be helping people get through this pandemic, and I hope the different opposition parties will help us," he said. "It's not in our interests to have an election. People want us to work together to help them." So as Trudeau's Liberals only control a minority government in the House of Commons, basically he needs the support of opposition parties to govern and to get bills to be passed. So if at any time they lack confidence in our Prime Minister or the Liberal Party, a snap election could be triggered and Canadians would have to go back to the polls to vote on a new leader. So we'll see what happens. Some people believe that this is a likely scenario in 2021. We'll see. because of the minority government, they might be trying to get themselves a majority and push some things forward. So if there is an election and they need to establish a new platform, because the Liberals have already said earlier this year that they support UBI, a UBI, or a guaranteed basic minimum income amount, could be on that new platform. Time will tell. The second thing, Bill C-273. Obviously, this is where the whole UBI stuff started on the channel, was Bill 273. And I get comments all the time from you guys, like my friend Jackmate2 says, "Hey Nick, what's the update about UBI Works? Was it rejected?" So that's Bill C-273. It's been powered by this UBI Works group. And so the thing with the UBI Works and Bill 273, it's still in the first reading. It's in with the House of Commons of Canada. But even if it goes through, there's a ton of different steps that it's got to go through, and I've talked about this in my previous videos. It's still in the first step. But when you look at the summary of Bill C-273, what it's asking is that it requires the Ministry of Finance to develop a national strategy to assess implementation models for a guaranteed basic income program as part of Canada's innovation and economic growth strategy. It also provides for reporting requirements in relation to the strategy. So Bill C-273, even if it gets passed, and I assume if it does, it would take a long time, it's just basically to get the Minister of Finance to assess the idea of the guaranteed basic income, not necessarily implement it right away. So UBI Works has put together this whole proposal. They've got all the numbers there and whatnot, and so they want the Minister of Finance to review that and see and assess if a UBI is going to happen. So even though this bill is on the table still in the House of Commons, it's in the first reading, this will happen very slowly over time. And I think if a UBI is implemented, it won't be because of this bill. It will be because of a new election, and the Liberals or NDP, whatever government group wants this, would have this on their platform. I really don't think Conservatives are going to have it on their platform. I think the Conservatives' idea is that they are against a UBI just in general. Liberals are kind of in the middle, and then NDP is more on the other side, where they think they would be for a guaranteed basic income. So we'll see what happens. Again, let me know if you were in charge of the country, would you have a UBI, and how much would your UBI be? Let me know in the comments below. Again, if you get value out of this video, drop a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And also, if you have new ideas for some fresh content that you'd like to see, such as maybe some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency stuff, let me know in the comments below as well. Really appreciate it. Again, I'm Nick from Nick's Taxes, and as always, happy taxing.